I used to run a poetry group called the Uptown Poetry Group, and I'd see this all the time. And so whether we're talking about film criticism, poetry criticism, any kind of criticism, most people cannot separate themselves from the thing being criticized, whether it's, their culinary skills, whether it's their opinions about a film or about art. And so if you say, Dan, I saw that review that you wrote about a Hemingway book or about a certain poet, uh, you might get someone might get offended by something and think, well, I did my first or second Ask Dan Schneider, uh, which is a new series I'm doing, where people have asked me, why do I hate Steven Spielberg? And they always go back to that same kind of question because they cannot get away from the emotionalism. And this has plagued criticism from time immemorial, and it's one of those things that sticks in people's minds is this idea of that you if you're criticizing someone, you're not criticizing their idea or their work or art separate, but it's about the person. And it's the projection of most people because most people do act in an ad hominem fashion. You've seen it. You've seen it when I've gotten X amount of people. I write some review about Marcel Proust or David Foster Wallace. You scumbag! You fucker! You said this, that, or the other thing. Well, number one, I might be making fun of someone, but if you're putting something out there and it's really bad, you take your chances. You have, one of the best ways to criticize something is to mock it. But there's nothing personal. Like I said in my Ask Dan Schneider thing that I did recently, I don't hate a Steven Spielberg, but I've gotten that question literally hundreds of times. And I don't think I've ever even written a whole full Steven Spielberg review. It's just from a handful of mentions of Spielberg here and there, or maybe in some of my interviews or something. But you get this because people themselves, if they were writing about Steven Spielberg or David Foster Wallace, they would be personalizing it. So they assume the old fallacy of their own self limits that you have to be doing it because I as the reader can't separate my likes from my dislikes. Well, this guy Schneider, or it could be Ebert, or it could be even a Bosley Crowd that occasionally had a good review that was well thought out. It's because the critic can't do it because I can't do it. And because I can't separate these things, no one else can. So that's basically, I think, the reason why criticism in general is bad.